Welcome to the Answers for Elders radio show. Meet the trusted experts who will give you straight answers and will help guide you on the path of later life care. Now, here's your host, founder, caregiver, and CEO, Suzanne Newman.
And welcome everyone to Answers for Elders podcast network. And we are here talking about the vitality revolution. And we're in month 2, where we are talking about occupational and social wellness. And what is occupational wellness and what is social wellness? For seniors or for anyone, occupational wellness isn't just a job. It is a sense of purpose. It is finding meaning in your life, something that occupies your time. I always think of it like it's a reason to get up in the morning, that you feel like you have something to accomplish. It's that feeling of accomplishment. What is social wellness? It is the connection to a community. What it is following a dream. Maybe it's going someplace that you've always wanted to go and experience things from communities or from cultures that you may not normally have done. So it's having that dream, it's having that bucket list to move forward, to have those experiences. And we are here today with Lori Hudson from LJ Hudson Insurance, or HudsonInsuranceSolutions.com, on behalf of Humana. And Lori, I am so glad we're here to talk about the brand new third and fourth foundational principle of wellness. So thanks for being with us.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here and
the
progression of all these topics that we're going through. So
I love it too. And you come up with some incredible topics and things we haven't even talked about before. And it's very exciting to talk about the positive aspects of growing through life and thinking about things that you may not have thought of as a human being. And for our first 2 segments, we're going to talk to family caregivers, to those that may be in a situation that is caring for a loved one, or being maybe you're a spouse of a loved one, and you're trying to figure out, where you are. You're kind of floundering in the world. And of course, there's some statistics that I'm going to put out right now that is really powerful. According to the National Alliance for Caregiving, there was a study done, and it says that 40% of family caregivers lose their jobs or leave their jobs due to caregiving. 40%, almost half. They spend 70% more time on social media than non-caregivers. That's another study. But because they leave their careers oftentimes in, their late 40s, mid to mid 50s, in that range, sometimes a little later, this is what happens. It's like they lose pension and long-term care benefits and the other challenge is, for example, for me, you may be out of your field for 3 years. Well, guess what? If that's the case, a lot of times the career has gone past you. But the other thing is, I know so many people that have launched careers in our industry, whether it's Medicare, like what Lori does, or like me in education, or being in caregiving, or whatever that is, because of their experience. And so we're going to talk a little bit today about how to define your life, even when you're in the midst of caregiving. And so, Lori, did I explain that correctly?
Well, I think you did great. And I think, a lot of times there's a couple things that came to mind for me. And first of all, we're at the age bracket where a lot of us are caring for parents. So you have your parents, then you might have your spouse's parents, and then you might have your spouse.
Yeah.
And, there's issues that go on with the spouse, and it can really uproot your whole lifestyle. And, like you were saying about the, your bucket list and the things that you may want to do, but then also your career. And I think sometimes we discount the skills we might be gaining in that caregiving. And I think that's an important thing to talk about too.
Absolutely.
We can gain some skills with that caregiving.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you think about so many individuals I talk to, that are taking care of a loved one, they stay in their, stay home with a loved one that really may need, skilled care, right? But they feel like they have to stay, a pledge to a loved one, that I will never, quote unquote, have you move out of your home. And those are things I think about those things often, because it's a really hard situation. And certainly my mother said the same thing, but I knew that her care was more important. And the fact that she had people that were caring for her that were skilled to do so was really a valid thing. And I think this is where I think a lot of times we get stuck as caring for a loved one. It's like our whole life gets put on pause. What are you finding in that?
Oh, I completely agree with that. And I think, we were kind of talking off camera a little bit about our situations and how it can be, it encompasses your whole life in so many ways that
Mhm.
you can also have a crisis after. So it can have physical
Mhm.
manifestations when if it's a
Mhm.
stressful situation, dealing with that or caring for your loved one. But it gives you that sense of purpose that you all of a sudden
Mhm.
you lose it.
Right,
So
right.
there's all those kinds of things to think about too.
Well, and I think it's important too in caregiving is setting proper boundaries, because you shouldn't give up your life. I'm like, look at these statistics. I mean, how many of us lose their jobs by not our choice, which was me, right? I lost my job due to a downsizing because they couldn't count on me, right? And I look at that and I think to myself, it's not fair, but it's reality. And unfortunately, the world isn't fair. And so we need to think about, I guess, as a society, and to those of you, if you're thinking about how do you reinvent yourself, how do you find purpose, think about, what are the things you love to do? What gives you passion? What gives you joy? Maybe it's a hobby. Maybe it's a connecting with other people. Maybe it's a new career that you can start. And we're going to talk about the new career in the next segment. But Lori, what are some suggestions that you have?
And I think keeping an open mind, and you're talking about the caregiving and losing a job. And I have an adult son who's type 1 diabetic, and he was 7 years old when he was diagnosed. And that threw us, and I was a single mom, that threw us
Mhm.
into a complete tailspin. I lost my
Absolutely.
job because I kept missing work because of him. And it threw us into a complete tailspin. But then it actually worked out very well in the end because I needed something with more flexibility.
Sure.
And so I was in office management at the time. And so what it did is it launched me into a career in sales, which
Mhm.
then launched me into what I'm doing now with Medicare.
Yeah,
And then now all those skills I had at doing the office management, that helps me now. Those were transferable skills that help
absolutely.
be successful in what I do now, because
Mhm.
a lot of insurance agents can't just have a really hard time with the technology, with the organizational skills, with all that kind of thing. So
Mhm.
I think keeping an open mind and really thinking about those transferable skills,
Mhm.
just leaving yourself open to what other options might be out there
Absolutely.
to explore.
Absolutely. So I always say, maybe it's a time to start doing, correspondence courses. Maybe caregiving is about, maybe there's an opportunity if there's something you've always wanted to do in your life. I know when I was with my mom and taking care of her, I planted a major rose garden. I'd always wanted to, and I'd always had it, but I had this open, I was working all the time. I had the opportunity then to take and plant roses in my garden. And I learned all about rose, you know, having a rose garden and doing all these wonderful things. So I'm very aware of things that you can maybe think about in your life of maybe you always wanted to take a dance class. Maybe you wanted to always do, whether it's a hobby or a new type of a career. Now, during your caregiving time is the time that you can explore these options. What do you think, Lori?
I completely agree with that. And I think that sometimes people don't realize too, that there are some volunteer organizations out there that provide respite care where they might come in for an hour or two.
Yes.
Out. And I think that we have to really take care of ourselves, because it's taking care of that loved one is our life. And I think that, again, leaving your options open, thinking about taking care of yourself and what does that mean? If it's gardening, which for me I'm not a gardener, but for you that is. So that's what makes us all
Exactly.
unique people,
Exactly.
and really reflecting on ourselves. And in some of the other segments we've talked about, I'm a big journaler. So if you do some self-reflection, what are those things that bring you joy, and build upon that. So if
Yeah.
it's something that's even just a little flicker of joy, and then just keep building upon that, I think can be very, very valuable.
And you mentioned volunteerism. It's like, what a wonderful way to do some things that are volunteering. Like if you go to a senior center, bring your loved one to an event or lunchtime, and then help or do something to be, volunteer your time. These are all options for people out there. There's a million ways. And of course, we would love to help you. And matter of fact, I have a little book on my on my boilerplate right now that we're going to be talking about reinventing yourself here shortly. And it's all about the whole process of, as we enter this world, how do we get through it in a better way? And I think this is what we're excited about doing. And so, Lori, in the meantime, we're going to talk about what you do for seniors. But in the meantime, what is your website?
Oh, it is Hudson Insurance Solutions. So it's HUTSON insurancesolutions.com. I'm licensed in the state of Washington, so I help Medicare beneficiaries here in Washington. If you're out of state, I am getting a non-resident license in California, but if you're out of state and you go to my website and fill out a contact form, I will put you in touch with someone in your state.
Perfect. Perfect. And we're going to be right back. We're going to talk a little bit more about finding that new purpose in life after caregiving, right after this. We at Answers for Elders thank you for listening. Did you know that you can discover hundreds of podcasts in our library on senior care? So visit our website and discover our decision guides that will help you also navigate decision making. Find us at answersforelders.com.